everyone. Welcome to episode 25 of Why Christians Should Keep the Law. And today, I want to bring to the table one of the most influential men in the history of Christianity. Unfortunately, this man's influence was not one that was good or prosperous, one that cultivated good, sound doctrine. This man's influence brought total corruption. He brought devastation to the church, while at the same time proclaiming that he is the ultimate bringer of truth, that he is defending the gospel, that what he brings is the pure, unadulterated gospel. I mean, it's absolutely terrifying. And this man's influence was so great on the church that Tertullian, an early church father, actually stated that he had embittered the whole mass of the faith. This is alluding to the fact that his teachings went to the farthest ends of the earth within the body of Christ. Absolutely terrifying to see how influential this man is. And I can tell you this, what Marcion believed, what he taught, what he brought into the church is alive and well today. It is being taught, it is being practiced, that his doctrine is being received wholeheartedly. And because of that, because of the relevance of Marcion's ideology to our very discussion, we're going to talk about him. And the more we talk about him, the further we get into this. And then you peer out into this modern day progressive Christianity, the more horrified you will become. And so I want to dig into Marcion. I want to bring you into Marcion's world. What did Marcion believe? Well, I'm going to tell you the foundation stone of Marcion's doctrine is the following. Everything else is built upon this. It's the fact that he believed that the God of the Old Testament is not the God of the New Testament or the God of the gospel. See, the God of the Old Testament is a different God. He's the God of the Jews. The God of the gospel is the God of the Christians. He believed that Christianity had nothing to do with the law and the prophets. And actually, the law and the prophets were antiquated. There was no relationship, and no good Christian would submit or yield or even consider the law to be authoritative. And so he was, in every sense of the definition, an antinomian. He was anti-law. And yet, at the same time, Marcion would look you square in the eye and profess Jesus is Lord. He would profess that he himself is a Christian and that he is defending the pure truth of the gospel. This is where you get into the kind of deception, if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived. And so I want to take you to Tertullian's treatise against Marcion. He wrote a 5-book series on coming against the heresy of Marcion, helping us understand what it was Marcion taught, what it was Marcion believed. And as we dig into this, I really think you're going to be troubled, especially considering we see today Marcionism. The whole idea and concept of Marcion's doctrine is alive and well in the church. And so I want to take you to Tertullian's 4th book in his treatise against Marcion. And this is what we read. I have a lot to say about this. For if the gospel said to be Luke's, which is current among us, and we shall see whether it be also current with Marcion, is the very one which, as Marcion argues, and his Antitheses was interpolated by the defenders of Judaism. Do you understand what Tertullian just communicated? What he's saying is that the gospel of Luke that you have, that I have, that Tertullian had, that the whole Christian world had, Marcion accused that gospel of being an interpolation by Judaizers. In other words, Marcion was saying, your version of Luke, my version of Luke, is corrupted. Why did Marcion say that? Why was he propagating that? Well, check it out. We learn exactly why as we continue. For the purpose of such a conglomeration with it of the law and the prophets, as should enable them out of it to fashion their Christ. In other words, isn't this interesting? Because our version today, and Tertullian's version, and Christianity as a whole's version of Luke, was pronomian, because it was pro-law and the prophets. Because it was pro-law, Marcion said and accused that it was total fraud. It was interpreted by Judaizers, by the legalists. They were trying to insert their legalism. See, because in Marcion's mind, there is no relationship between the gospel and the law. They are the antithesis to one another. They're diametrically opposed to one another. And I'll give you an example. In the Gospel of Luke, when you read passages like, it's easier for heaven and earth to pass away than for one tittle of the law to fail, in Marcion's world, that is unacceptable. That in Marcion's mind is an impossibility, because there's no relationship, there's no association of the law and the prophets to the gospel. These are two separate things entirely. Well, how disturbing is that? Because that is exactly what these progressive Christians who are antinomians, they don't believe there's any relationship between the law and the gospel. That's exactly what they're doing. I can remember reading a piece on Ian McKellen, this Hollywood star or whatever, and it talked about how when he goes into hotel rooms, there's a particular page of the Bible that he rips out. He rips out Leviticus 18:22. It says, it says, you shall not lie with the male as with the female. It is an abomination. Because he didn't like that, he just ripped it out. See, in Marcion's world, the things that he did not like, he just ripped out. He eviscerated the Gospel of Luke. And I'm telling you, it's a very scary thing when you live in a generation within the Christian church that you see Christians doing what Marcion did. The concept of the Word of God, the unadulterated Word of God, is to radically change who you are. It's to change us from the inside, from our heart. It's to change how we behave. It's to change how we think, how we act, how we treat others. It's to radically change us. But when you're in an evil and wicked generation, they don't want to change. It's much easier just to change the word, or to accuse, or to distort the word, or to accuse the word as Marcion's doing, and to say, no, that's a product of Judaism. What your interpretation of that passage, you're getting legalistic. This is the scary reality of what we're living today. God help us. Now, just to give you a little further backdrop on Marcion, Marcion is said to be the first one to produce a canon of the New Testament. And I'll say that in air quotes. But Marcion's canon, this closed package of particular books considered to be authoritative, was not even half the size of our New Testament today. Oh, no. Marcion's canon consisted only of 11 books broken into two different categories: the Evangelion and the Apostolicon. Now, the Evangelion simply refers to gospel. I'll get to that in a moment, because that ties in with what we're dealing with here. But the Apostolicon is 10 books, all the Apostle Paul, because Marcion put all his stock in the Apostle Paul's teachings and would not accept any other apostle. In fact, he believed that the other apostles ended up getting corrupted, ended up getting, if you will, Judaized. And the Apostle Paul was the only trustworthy and faithful apostle of the Lord. So he did not look into any other epistles that we have in the New Testament today, only 10 epistles from the Apostle Paul. And just to go through these quickly, they're Galatians, 1st and 2nd Corinthians. You had Romans and 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, Ephesians, Colossians, Philemon, and Philippians. This is what made up his apostolicon, okay? And all the Apostle Paul. Now, here's what's interesting. Even within the epistles of Paul, Marcion eviscerated them. He gutted them. The things that did not line up, things that would sound pronomian, he removed. Even in the book of, not even Galatians made it without having to be edited by Marcion. I mean, it's really something. And then you had the Evangelion, which is simply the gospel. Now, Marcion's gospel did not consist of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Marcion's gospel only consisted of Luke and an incredibly abridged version at that, or what I would say a mutilated version, removing all the pronomian, removing the whole concept of the law and the prophets from the text so that it would read as he wants it to read, so that it will fit his narrative of his interpretation of the gospel. Well, I have more to bring to the table on this discussion, but that's all we have time for today. The Lord bless you and keep you.